Texas, on June 19th, 1865, became the final state and the last day that humans had the status of slaves on American soil. Their harbinger was Union Major General Gordon Granger, and he said, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and free labor." End quote. Friends, as Americans today, and specifically as Black Americans, we should all be blessed to celebrate, honor, and commemorate this phase of America's history in hope that we could continue the important work today so that we could continue to lift up the voices of those who are still seeking full freedom in all forms. May this Shabbat, may this Shabbos bring us a sense of our own inner voice, a settled mind, and also the courage necessary to bring to life the teaching from the Torah when God said, "Ki avadayim asher hotzesi osam me'eretz Mitzrayim lo yimkaru mimereches eved." These people are my servants. No one should be enslaved to other humans. We are many nations, friends, under God, so we should be blessed. Oh, woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Yes, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Oh, woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Yes, oh, every day, every time, I gotta be stayed on freedom, yeah. Every day and every time, I gotta be stayed on freedom. For the people around the world who are seeking freedom, we gotta be stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Friends, together, everywhere I go, I gotta be stayed on freedom, yeah. Every day, everywhere I go, stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Thank God for today. Thank God for this moment, that we commemorate what has been done and yet what is still we are longing to see.
Thank you, Rabbi Rothstein, for that wonderful opening. Shalom, and welcome to Be'chol Lashon's second annual Juneteenth Kabbalat Shabbat. I'm Marcella White-Campbell, the Executive Director of Be'chol Lashon. Every week, Jews around the world welcome Shabbat with songs of praise and joy, recalling the creation of a world in which all of us are fully free. Tonight, we are coming together to celebrate that moment in American history when, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, the Union Army enforced the freedom of the enslaved Black people of Texas. Almost 250 years after the first enslaved Black people set foot on North American soil, all their descendants were finally set free and their humanity was recognized under the law. That was the true beginning of independence for Americans. And like Shabbat, this is worth celebrating with joy and with song. For over 20 years, Be'chol Lashon has been celebrating and advocating for the racial and ethnic diversity of the Jewish people. Tonight, we are joined by a spectrum of Jewish organizations as we honor that diversity. Last year, in the midst of the global pandemic and the national awakening of empathy and solidarity in the wake of George Floyd's killing, we presented our Zoom Juneteenth Kabbalat Shabbat. It was an unprecedented success. Over 60,000 people watched the celebration, kickstarting a series of online Kabbalat Shabbat celebrations showcasing diverse Jewish identities and communities. In the past year, we have celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month, the Ethiopian Jewish holiday of Sigd, Lunar New Year, Nowruz, Loving Day, and now, once again, Juneteenth. We're so grateful to everyone who has joined us on this adventure over the past year. And we are thankful for the many co-hosts who have signed on to make today's event happen, including Reconstructing Judaism, the Marlene Meyerson JCC in Manhattan, OneTable, PJ Library, the Union of Reform Judaism, the National Museum of American Jewish History, 18 Doors, Keshet, and the Jewish Federations of North America. We are so grateful for their support. And last but not least, Be'chol Lashon is a not-for-profit. We can't do this important work without your help. To support Jewish diversity, please consider donating to us at globaljews.org/donate. This allows us to create programs like this one, along with a newly commissioned Juneteenth prayer by Rebecca Semenga Frank. And now I pass the virtual microphone on to Rabbi Sandra LAWSON and Hazanit Sabrina SOJOURNER, who will lead us through today's celebration.
Thank you, Marcella. Hello, everybody. My name is Rabbi Sandra LAWSON, and I really hope you enjoy our time together as we celebrate Shabbat, and we celebrate and remember this Freedom Day, Juneteenth. And we also remember and celebrate how awesome, how beautiful is this day. Ma'yafeh hayom. Ma'yafeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Ma'yafeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Ma'yafeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Ma'yafeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Ma'yafeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Ma'yafeh hayom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
If I could, I would dance the entire Shabbat service, or at least move nearly constantly to the inner and outer rhythms of the service, pausing only to note mood of the great presence so I could bend, sway, bow, twirl, or stir a limb in such a way as to please the name of all names. Though I am not a toe dancer, I would find a way to climb to the tips of my feet, to meet the presence without and within, to feel what is up and bring it down, to greet what is low and bring it up, to create balance in such a way as to thank the giver of all for all that I have received for all that we have perceived. If I could, I would dance Shabbat. Ha-ha-ma merosh ha-ilanot nistalka. Bo'u v'netzach likrat Shabbat hal-malka. Hine hi yoredet hakdosha habrucha. Ve'imam malachim zeva shalom umnucha. Boi, boi, ha-malka. Boi, boi, ha-kala. Shalom alechem, malachei ha-shalom.
Shabbat calls us to remember and to observe. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, lehadlik ner, lehadlik ner, lehadlik ner shel Shabbat, lehadlik ner, lehadlik ner, lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Thank you. Yedid Nefesh. Yedid Nefesh. Afarach Aman. Mesoch Avdecha. El Resonecha. Yarutz Avdecha. Kemo Aya. Yishtachavel. Mul Hadarecha. Zeravlo. Yedidutecha. Menofesu. Mechotam. Yada-da-da-da-da. 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 Yada-da-da-da-da.
I'm really excited to be incorporating Juneteenth into my Judaism, into our Judaism. Not just because I'm an African American, because I am a Texan African American. And Juneteenth is very specifically, it was when the federal troops arrived in Texas. A lot of people don't know that Texas was a slave state, and said we were all free. And so in my family, since both my mom and my dad are from Texas, have always celebrated this holiday with big family gatherings when we were in Texas, or bringing a lot of their friends and their and cousins who were also in California together. There's a very large community of people who are graduates of HBCUs, alums of HBCUs, and their families would get, our families would get together, and we would talk all the traditions and all of the different stories about our families. We would trade them. Sometimes we meld them together to create a whole new story. But my point being is that though it is something solemn, it is also a celebration. And so in honor of this deeply moving holiday being incorporated into Judaism and my family's tradition, and having the opportunity to share with you something from Shabbat that is very traditional and also deeply moving, I thought I would bring a different melody that is not that old and meld it all together. Shalom Alechem Malachei hasharet malachi elyon mi melech malachi hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu boachem leshalom malachi hashalom malachi elyon mi melech malachi hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu barchuni leshalom malachi hashalom malachi elyon mi melech malachi hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu zechem leshalom malachi hashalom malachi elyon mi melech malachi hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu.
So I think everybody knows by now, or should know by now, Juneteenth is June 19th, and it's the day that enslaved people in Galveston, Texas, learned from Union soldiers that they had been free already, that the war had ended in April, the Civil War in 1865, and that they no longer needed to be doing the work they were doing. It has grown into a celebration for freedom or of freedom, and it's entirely appropriate for African Americans to have a celebration of liberation, just as Jews of all different colors have Passover as a celebration of liberation. But there's a big difference here, is that, we celebrate Passover in general of the time, the going out of Egypt, and the going out doesn't have a particular date to it. One derivation, by the way, of Juneteenth that I think I'm understanding, I'm perfectly happy to be corrected, is that originally the exact date was unknown and somehow was determined to be June 19th. And the going out of Egypt, we don't have a particular date for that, but it certainly was, Passover is marking the going out, not 2.5 months later. Even though it took us 40 years to get to where we were trying to go, we didn't, just arbitrarily take a date 23 years later or 2.5 years later. And this is not an arbitrary date. For your liberator to come and tell you that you had been free is actually, to me, quite disconcerting. So I'm in a minority here. I would certainly not call Juneteenth celebration part of civil rights, and I'll get back to what they are in a minute. But to me, it symbolizes a great deceit. It meant that the people who were enslaving the people in Galveston, Texas, the Black people, were violating every possible convention of human decency that I can think of. You could defend slavery if you really want to by saying at least it was legal in the South at that time. Okay, it stopped being legal, and frankly, it stopped being legal January 1st, 1863, with the Emancipation Proclamation that said all areas in rebellion to the United States, slavery is now abolished in those areas. Well, if you were still in rebellion, maybe you didn't take that seriously. But on April 9th, you no longer could be in rebellion because your side has surrendered. So why are you continuing to hold people in slavery? To me, I think that deceit is just the most cynical behavior I can imagine of human beings. It goes to today's argument for reparations. If people are saying that, well, my ancestors didn't own slaves, or I didn't benefit from slavery, there's two parts to that. One, we all benefited from slavery. It built buildings in this country, the White House, may be one of them. And so if we've ever visited any of these buildings, gone there, we benefited, even if it was our ancestors who did the building. Reparations says that the country as a whole needs to pay and make good on what it got out of people for absolutely free labor and horrendous conditions. But all that being said, as historical research, gets more and more available, every day you go on Google, you can find out more and more stuff about the past, things about my family. I find pictures I've never seen before. Somebody can actually find out exactly who held these people in slavery 2.5 months after they were undoubtedly free. I think that any descendant of that who is reaping any benefit from it, who inherited any property of it, yes, you yourself didn't do anything from it, but you benefited from it, And, I just won't finish the sentence. I'll let you finish it. But that's my take on Juneteenth. For me, in short, it's a bittersweet holiday. Maybe I won't even call it a holiday. For me, it's a commemoration.
2020 was a year like no other. And as we begin to reemerge back into a lot of our normal routine, let's take the lessons of 2020 with us. For many in our society, started to realize last year that our society is not equitable for all. Or maybe people did know that our society was not equitable for all, and people have realized that they need to pay attention and they can't sit back anymore and not do anything. And I'm sure there's still people who have much more to learn and farther to go. But one thing we have learned, or one thing that we can learn from this holiday, Juneteenth, and one thing we can learn from this past year is that none of us are free until all of us are free. And so with that, I want to offer Ella's song. Words written by Bernice Johnson Reagan, and words by civil rights activist Ella Baker. It's a reminder that we can't rest. We have to keep fighting. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes, until the killing of black men, black mothers, sons is as important as the killing of white men, white mothers, sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. The older I get, the better I know that the secret of my going on is when the reins are in the hands of the young who dare to run against the storm. 'Cause to me, young people come first, yes they do. They have the courage where we fail. And if I can just shed some kind of light as they carry us through the gale, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Been struggling myself, don't mean a whole lot. I've come to realize that teaching others to stand up and fight is the only way our struggles survive. I'm a woman who speaks in a voice, and I must be heard. At times I can be quite difficult, 'cause I'll bow to no man's word. We who believe in freedom can I rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. No, we can't. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrak nirakala, pene pene Shabbat nikabala. Lecha lecha dodi, likrak nirakala, pene pene Shabbat nikabala la la. Lecha lecha dodi, likrak nirakala, pene pene Shabbat nikabala. Lecha lecha dodi. Likrakti ratkala, pane pane Shabbat nikabala. Shamor v'zachor v'divor echad. Hishmi anu hel amyuchad, Adonai echad u'shamo echad. Leshem u'tiferet v'lihi la la la. Lecha lecha dodi, likrakti rakala, pane pane Shabbat nikabala. Lecha lecha dodi, likrakti rakala, pane pane Shabbat nikabala. Likrat Shabbat lochu v'necha, ki hi makor habracha, merosh mikeden nesucha, sof machase b'machashava techila, lacha lacha dodi, likrat likrat kala, pane pane Shabbat nikabala, lacha lacha dodi, likrat likrat kala, pane pane Shabbat nikabala. Yamin ushmol tifrotzi, ve'et Adonai ta'aritzi, al yad ish ben partzi, v'nismeha v'nagila la 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 la, lacha lacha dodi, likrakti ratkala, pane pane Shabbat nikabala, lacha lacha dodi, likrakti ratkala, pane pane Shabbat nikabala. Find yourself a door to open and stand into, or open a window and sing out and let in the angels and the Shabbat bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam v'simcha uhuzohola, Tokamune am segula, boi chala la 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 la, lacha lacha dodi, likrakti ratkala, pane pane Shabbat nikabala, lacha lacha dodi, likrakti ratkala, pane pane Shabbat nikabala la la, lacha lacha dodi, likrakti ratkala, pane pane Shabbat nikabala, laha laha dodi, likrakti ratkala, pane pane Shabbat nikabala.
Clap your hands, all you nations. Shout to God with cries of joy. Black is king. Black is queen. Black is free. Black is free. Why is this day different from all other days? On this day, the message of freedom was no longer delayed. May I carry the message of freedom. May I receive the message of freedom. Galveston, Texas, 1865, and today. May I carry the message of freedom. May I receive the message of freedom. May I feel my arms stretch wide, breathing deeply. May a gust of wind blow boundless through my mind. May I remember forgotten dreams. May tears escape from my eyes and evaporate skillfully on my cheek. May I feel joyful shouts escape from my mouth as freely as birds fly into pink sky over salty water. May I lull myself and others into a peaceful sway by singing, "Oh, beautiful for willow, weep for me." The sweetest sound Moses telling on the mountain of this little light of mine. May our teeth shine as we smile at one another. May we cook, may we potluck together, giving thanks to the God in each of us. On this day, we eat soul food infused with the spirit of freedom. On this day, we relax in the spirit of freedom. On this day, we dance in the spirit of freedom. On this day, we laugh in the spirit of freedom. On this day, we tell the story in the spirit of freedom. We spread the news. As we clasp hands, all you nations, our palms transmit an inner whisper. No words of false equivalency are shared. Only the inner language of God, heard in silence. Freedom. Freedom.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm going to offer a prayer for healing, a Misha Barach prayer. And before I offer this prayer, I want to invite you to add in the chat feature, wherever you're watching this, a name that you want to lift up so that we can all pray for their healing. Add their name to the universe for prayers of healing. And I also want to say that I view COVID much like I view racism in our society. COVID has inserted itself into every part of our society. There is no part of our society that has not been touched by this, just like there's no part of our society that's not touched by racism and bigotry, homophobia, sexism, anti-Semitism, all of the ills of our society. So I'm going to offer this Misha Barach prayer written by my friend, Rabbi Annie Lewis, for all of us, for our world, because our world is sick. When the world is sick, can't no one be well, but I dreamt we're all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, can't no one be well, but I dreamt we're all beautiful and strong. Mishaberach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak ve'Yaakov. Mishaberach Imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, ve'Leah. U'yevarech ve'yirapeh et kol ha'olim. U'yevarech ve'yirapeh et hakol. U'yevarech ve'yirapeh et kol ha'olim. U'yevarech ve'yirapeh et hakol. When the world is sick, when our world is sick. Can't no one be well? But I dreamt, yes I dreamt, yes I dreamt, we're all beautiful and strong.
Hello, my name is Eric Green. I'm a board member of Jewish Multiracial Network, and Jewish Multiracial Network has composed and distributed the Kaddish for Black Lives. We're hoping that you find meaning in it and hoping that you will share it with others. Creator of life, source of compassion, your breath remains the source of our spirit, even as too many of us cry out that we cannot breathe. Lovingly created in your image, the color of our bodies has imperiled our lives.
Black lives are commodified yet devalued, imitated but feared, exhibited but not seen. Black lives have been pursued by hatred, abandoned by indifference, and betrayed by complacency. Black lives have been lost to the violence of the vigilante, the cruelty of the marketplace, and the silence of the comfortable.
We understand that Black lives are sacred, inherently valuable, and irreplaceable. We know that to oppress the body of the human is to break the heart of the divine. We yearn for the day when the bent will stand straight. We pray that the hearts of our country will soften to the pain endured for centuries. We will do the work to bind up the wounds, to heal the shattered hearts, to break the yoke of oppression.
As the beauty of the heavens is revealed to us each day, may each day reveal to us the beauty of our common humanity. Yihiyu leROTHSTEIN, emrefi vehegyon libi, lefanecha, lefanecha, Adonai Zuri, Zuri v'goali, Adonai Zuri v'goali. May the words of our mouths be acceptable in your sight, be acceptable unto you, be acceptable unto you. Adonai, our rock and our redeemer. Adonai, our rock and Redeemer. Amen.
Is that part of our service where we offer Mourner's Kaddish? And I want to offer this little kavanah for Kaddish Yotam, Mourner's Kaddish. As I was preparing this service and looking over this week's Torah portion and looking at the Jewish date, tomorrow, June 19th, Juneteenth, is the 9th of Tammuz. The 9th of Tammuz, on this Shabbat, I will complete my 11th month cycle of saying Kaddish for my mom. My mom passed away on Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av. Tisha B'Av is the saddest day in the Jewish calendar, and there are many bad things that happen historically on that day in the Jewish world. And as I was looking at this week's Torah portion, which is Hukat, there's a lot of death in this week's Torah portion. Miriam, Moses' sister, dies. She has been with him from the beginning. Moses also learns that his brother Aaron will also soon die. Moses is about to lose the two people that have been with him from the beginning and have helped him lead the Israelites from Mitzrayim into the wilderness towards the promised land. In Moses' grief, he's angry, and rightfully so. And God tells Moses to strike, scratch that. God tells Moses to talk to a rock so that it will yield water. Because the Israelites have no water. The well dries up after Miriam dies. Miriam is credited with helping the Israelites get water. So without Miriam, there's no water. So God tells Moses to speak to the rock to yield water, and Moses, in his grief, strikes the rock. And for that, he's not allowed to go into the promised land. But what I want to point out here is Moses was grieving. And when we are grieving, we should yield into whatever our bodies and minds are telling us. I'm not saying that we should cause harm, but we should lean into our grief and not run away from it. Because if I was Moses, I too would probably strike a rock instead of speaking to it. And so when we offer Kaddish and we remember those who are no longer with us, remember that in reciting Kaddish, we are affirming our awareness of the holiness in our world, because much of our experience of divine goodness, grace, and love has come to us from those whose lives have touched us. And so today we remember them. And if you are so moved, please add the names of those that you are remembering today, whether you're in the period of Shloshim, the 30 days of mourning, whether it's the Yortzeit or you're still in your year cycle of mourning, or you're just remembering someone who's no longer with us. Please feel free to add their names. And today I remember my mother, Flora May Lawson, who grew up dirt poor in the South. The ancestral memory of slavery was more in her memory than it is in mine. And she grew up in the dirt poor South. And I remember my mother, one of the stories I remember my mother telling me when we visited the South and we saw cotton fields, she gave me this serious look and said, "You will never pick cotton." Actually, she just pointed to it and she's like, "You will never do that." I didn't really understand the meaning of that. I do now. So today I remember my mother, Flora May Lawson, for the sacrifices that she made so that I can be the best person that I am today. And when we invoke these names, we invoke the transcendent power of love and caring as we sanctify God's name. So please join me in offering Mourner's Kaddish. Yid Kadal ve'Yid Kadash Shemei Rabbah. B'yamah divrach yirteh v'yamlich malchuteh b'chayachon u'v'yomehon u'v'chayei d'kol bet Israel b'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam l'mei amaya. Yidbarak v'yishtabak v'yidpa'ar v'yishraman v'yidnaseh v'yitadar v'yidalei v'yidalal Shemei d'kudashah b'richu. Le'ela mikol brachata v'shirata tushbachata v'ne'amata damiran be'ama v'imru. Amen. Yehesh lama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'yakol Israel v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'ramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Israel, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru. Amen. May the one who creates harmony above make peace for us, for all of us down here on earth. And we say, Amen. Thank you all so much for spending time with us on this Shabbat. May the rest of your Shabbat help you find the rest, renewal, and recharging of life that we also desperately need. And thank you for praying with us, singing with us, learning with us, and celebrating this Freedom Day, this Juneteenth, this day of celebrating liberation. And also thanks for being in community with us on this Shabbat. So with that, I'll say, have an amazing weekend. Shabbat Shalom. And I want to take this time, this opportunity, to bring back Marcella with some closing words. Shabbat Shalom, my friends.
That was truly amazing. My heart is full of love and I feel ready for Shabbat. I want to thank everyone who helped us to pull off this incredible event. A special thanks goes to my colleagues Ruth and Julian, who worked tirelessly to make this happen, as well as to Matt Temkin from the JCC Manhattan, who edited this video. Please support Jewish diversity by visiting globaljews.org/donate. And do stay in touch. If you haven't done so, follow us on social media and sign up for our newsletter. We will close with another powerful song by Rabbi Isaiah Rothstein, Juneteenth Sameach and Shabbat Shalom.
Wow, a big thank you again to Be'chol Lashon, to each of our presenters, to each of you for bringing your heart, your mind, your spirit to us as we enter into this Juneteenth Shabbat celebration and commemoration. May we pray for peace, peace in our hearts, peace in our minds, peace in our families and the walls of our home, peace with our neighbors, peace with our zip codes, peace with our fellow Americans, peace for all those around the world. May it be soon, may it be today. And let us sing in the Shabbos angels of peace and bring them in good song. Oh, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Sharis, Malachei Elyomi, Melech Malchei Hamalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Sharis, Malachei Elyomi, Melech Malchei Hamalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ay, 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 Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Sharis. Shalom.